Hello, welcome to the podcast. This is a podcast idea we come up with. It's completely original. No one has ever thought of this ever. Basically, we will determine who amongst us have not seen a film, and then we will put them in the hot seat, and we will make them watch it, play it, listen to it, whatever it is. I am Mark. I'm also joined by Rhys.
That's me. Yep, I'm Rhys.
Andy.
That's me. Yeah. Hello.
And in Dictionary Corner, we have Amy.
Hello.
And she will be fact-checking us. So for the first episode, this one's been on our back burner for a while. We're going to be looking at Fellowship of the Ring. We're just going to focus on that one amongst the Lord of the Rings films. So Fellowship of the Ring, if you don't know, released in 2001, a year where nothing else really happened. It was directed by Peter Jackson.
Wait. I already know what the second film is called.
It's called The Twin Towers. I mean,
It's all linked. I'm getting it now. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm all over the law. Right.
So as we said, it was released in 2001. Very good year. It was directed by Peter Jackson to a budget of 93 million, but it's so far to date in the box office made 887 million. It was not the first attempt at a Lord of the Rings film. Those animated ones with questionable quality. So I think when you say the Lord of the Rings films, this is what people think of. So let's get into it.
The world is changed. I feel it in the water.
The first obvious question is, who has seen this?
I have seen it a lot.
I've also seen it more than I'd care to imagine.
Any opinions of it without giving too much away?
Did you watch it day one? Were you already aware of the Lord of the Rings when you saw it, or have you just seen it between 2001 and now?
So my first exposure to Lord of the Rings was this is very, very 2000s. I saw an advert for the toys of Lord of the Rings in between something else. I was just like, what the hell is that? It's just like a ring wraith action figure. I went to see it in the cinema, and then I think I rented it on DVD when it was out in Blockbuster as well. And then I bought my own DVD, and I watched that a lot. Yeah, I still watch it at least annually.
Well, for me, I'd read the book prior to it coming out because my dad loved Lord of the Rings, so I read it myself. And then when it came out, me and my dad went to see it at the cinema. As soon as it came out on DVD, we bought it. And then when it came out on extended DVD, we bought it again.
You got to watch the extended editions. You can't watch the normal ones.
That's true.
Needs nothing to do it.
I didn't buy any sort of action figure. I didn't even know they had them.
I didn't buy them. That's my first time I saw Lord of the Rings.
So these were books before they were films.
Yeah, I think they were written in the 50s.
I'm pretty sure in the 60s. Let me double check for you.
40 years to make a film.
Either way, they weren't the first. The Hobbit was the first.
Yeah, Hobbit was written first and it's set first. Yeah.
We'll not get into sequels, prequel, whatever you want to call them.
Came out for the first time on its own in 1968, but it came out in general in 1954.
Okay, we're both right.
Okay, so you guys have both seen it. Not day one. Andy had a bit of went with it from the books. Mark didn't.
I went in blind to the films, yes.
Amy, what about you?
I was day one waiting at the cinema in a line.
No way.
So I remember watching it. I was sitting about 10 from behind my knees. Terrifying.
Do you remember which cinema you saw it in?
It would have been The View in Birkenhead.
That's a nice memory to have.
If you've been to that view, it's not.
That's another chapter of the autobiography. Okay, so without spoiling anything, what were your thoughts on it as a standalone Fellowship of the Ring film?
I liked it. Yeah. I was sort of getting into fantasy things at that time. I was playing Diablo 2, Neverwinter Nights around that time, so I was getting into fantasy stuff anyway, and it just sort of fitted nicely into this new area of interest I was developing. I met Andy around that time as well, 2000. So yeah, he was exposing me to things like Diablo. So
did I really introduce you to Diablo 2?
It was your goat, yeah. I only played it because you did.
Yeah, I was a massive fantasy nerd long before Mark was. I absolutely loved it. It's not exactly true to the book, but you know, it's a film. It's not going to be, so it's fine.
So I'm guessing from the conversation we've had already that Rhys, you're the person who's not seen this.
No, I haven't seen it. All right. So that's what puts me in the hot seat in this episode is that I have very little experience of Lord of the Rings. I was very young, very, very young in 2001 when this came out, not like you lot, and I was definitely more into action, Power Rangers, cartoons, that kind of thing. My first exposure of Lord of the Rings, hearing anything about it, would have been when the third film came out, and the word on the street was that it was really long, and I was not in the place in my life to watch anything that was, I think, 3 hours long, people were saying. I'd never done anything for 3 hours, so that definitely wasn't about to happen in my early childhood. I wasn't into books, never really been into books, so I wouldn't have read them, but some things do drip feed through in, via pop culture devices. So I'm going to go through a list of what I think I know already about this world, and I'm not going to know whether this is Fellowship of the Ring I'm talking about or anything in the Lord of the Rings franchise or world, and it's just going to be what I know. It might not be facts, might be total bullshit. Try not to tell me whether I'm right or wrong, but here goes. So there's a ring, and a ring, and there's a quest to take this ring to a volcano to destroy it. I don't know why, but that's what happens. I can't conceptualize an idea in my head that puts together a story of why this ring would need to be taken to a volcano to be destroyed, apart from that the ring is a bit evil. But I don't know. The ring goes to a boy or man called Frodo, and at some point that is Martin Freeman, I think. Right? That's where. What else do I know about the world? I know there's a kind of narrative around a plot hole involving an animal that could fly that could have helped them get to the volcano. I don't really have any clue about that. I just heard of that.
What a plot hole, mate.
Maybe not. What else do I know? I know Sauron is a thing that exists, and it looks like the King Saud Tower in Riyadh.
What tower?
Sad tower.
Yeah, Saud, Saud.
Does it look like that tower, Amy?
Bring it up.
Oh, yeah. Not Sauron doesn't look like a tower, the person.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that.
A tower, yes.
I understand at the top of that tower there's an eye. That's probably my knowledge of the film. I've played the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games, and you'd like to think that some lore is snuck in from there. But honestly, I couldn't tell you what happens in those games apart from control lots of orcs. So I know orcs are a species. I've probably had fights in that game with really important characters from the film, or without having any idea who they are, and I wouldn't get to tell you their names. So I don't think a lot has managed to seep in from that. So yeah, my knowledge of the franchise is pretty low anyway. My knowledge of this film in particular, that's it. Yeah, things I picked up from shit like Family Guy and just general conversation, like and Big Bang Theory, of things I wouldn't admit I was watching.
But he won't watch Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. So that's what I've got so far as to what I know about Fellowship of the Ring. That's something I learned today, by the way, is that the film is called The Fellowship of the Ring. I thought it was called The Lord of the Rings, and then the second one was called The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. I can't remember what the third one was called, but that's a really long one. And I know there's a Hobbit film.
Say a Hobbit film. There's 3 of them as well. Do you want to go into your expectations? It doesn't sound like
yeah,
you've got
okay.
any usage. You didn't even know the title of the film.
Yes. So, like I said, I don't know a lot. I know this journey's going to take place to a volcano. I'm expecting they're not going to get there in the first film. That's an assumption I'm going to make. Apart from that, I mean, what would happen? First of all, I can't even imagine a scenario where a little man is given a ring he needs to destroy. So I have no idea how that is going to conceptualize and how that's going to come to life. Like how this little man is going to be given a ring and then be given instructions on how to destroy it.
Even when you know, it won't make sense to you.
So that I'm interested to find out what brings this about. Obviously, knowing that this is something that came out in the early stages, like pre the fantasy bubble, it would have inspired a lot. and having played a lot of fantasy games since, I'm assuming there's going to be the standard archetypes of a dwarf that's got an axe, a big, lanky, pretty lad with a bow and arrow, a stealthy boy that's going to maybe be a woman and maybe be a bit sneaky and maybe try and double cross us at some point. And then there's probably going to be, oh shit, no, Gandalf exists. Gandalf's the guy. There's going to be Gandalf, and he's a wizard. So there's going to be him. He's going to pop up, and he's going to be the old wise wizard. So I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of those like fantasy tropes, because my assumption is that this is one of the things that's kind of fed those tropes.
If I am right, this inspired D&D, and then D&D sort of like bled it into popular culture more.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I guess what I'm expecting is just a very run-of-the-mill hero's journey type thing. Like, he's going to meet some friends. They're all going to be really typical, fit into their little boxes, and they're going to have really shitty accents. And then the whole quest is going to be obstructed by something. They're going to be like, come back for the next film. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah, cheesy sign off at the end.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? Find out next time.
It's gonna fade to black with him riding a horse onto the edge of a cliff and jumping, and then it's gonna go, if you think Freddy's gonna make it over the cliff, oh Freddy.
Freddy.
Tune in next time.
What 90s policies ended higher.
I think I can hear Amy's blood pressure getting higher with the more things I say wrong.
Everything you say the word volcano, I just die a little.
I don't know why. As far as I know, it's a volcano. But we'll see.
And I appreciate maybe it is a volcano, but no one in my life has ever called it a volcano up until now.
You know the volcano in Lord of the Rings?
Nothing that anyone's said.
I'm sure we'll have more to talk about after I've seen it.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we'll send you away now to watch it, but we'll just talk about sort of how this has changed in our memories and over time. I definitely understood this more as I got older, and I think watching it more and more, you pick up more detail, because I'm probably in a similar mindset to you, Rhys, where I didn't really pay attention to plot the first time I watched these things. I just wanted to see battles. And then as I watched it a few times, I started picking up more and more plot, and I enjoy it now more for the plot than the battles, even though the battles are still pretty good. And has your opinion on the film changed over time or anything?
Yeah, well, at the very beginning, I loved just watching the intro. I thought that was fantastic. It's still pretty good. Maybe it's aged a little bit now, looking back, but it's bound to with its age. It's just a good, like, feel good. It just sounds so stupid. It reminds me of my family when I watch it, so it's always quite calming to watch.
It still uses some practical effects that films around that time stopped doing. Obviously, it uses CGI for a lot of the things that would be impossible without CGI, but there's still practical effects. There's still actors in makeup and puppets and things like that. They have held up well, I think. So
I think the bits that haven't held up well when it came out, you looked at and thought, that's a bit odd for this film. It's mostly in the second one. There's like a couple of scenes where it's just imposed so badly.
yeah, there's a few dodgy aged bits of CGI, and I think we've seen the behind the scenes quite a few times as well, and you start to spot those little tricks they've used. But I think if you just watch it as a casual viewer, it's pretty good still, even 23 years on.
Lads, I have just Googled this film, and it says runtime 2 hours and 58 minutes.
Yeah, it's fun.
You want to mention that in advance?
No, that's the shortest Lord of the Rings film, so you're alright.
I was going to watch it tonight. It's 10 p.m. already.
No.
Okay.
We'll give you a couple of days.
Okay. Right. I'll set aside a weekend to watch that.
Each trilogy in Lord of the Rings series is a weekend.
Okay. Is this a movie that I'm going to need to watch the whole 3 hours at once? Would I get away with watching an hour and a half and then watching an hour and a half? Or is that going to ruin it? Is that going to break it up too much?
I think, knowing your personality, you will tune out at some of the parts where they're just explaining lore and building relationships and character backgrounds. I think you will tune out and you will not understand them later on. And I think we could just accept that for the first few. Especially if you're not very good with subtitles.
Are you watching extended or theatre?
Let me bring up what I'm going to watch. I think it's on Prime at the moment. do you have a view on if there's a big difference between any of those editions, or if I should watch one over another?
It's a weird one. There's a few like fun scenes they've added, and then there's like where the film doesn't make sense without that scene in retrospect.
Yeah, I definitely suggest the extended, but it's not necessary. But yeah,
Half an hour.
It's only 3.5 hours.
That's an extra 15% of film.
Like that?
So it's 172 minutes for the regular one, or 229 minutes for the extended edition.
Yeah. I'd go extended, mate.
It's £1 more.
but it's got a nice break where you might swap the. Oh, you won't have the discs.
Oh yeah, please. There's that dish too. Yeah. I don't know. It's just like deeply ingrained or what, but like I know what scenes were coming up where it would usually say now change it. This but now because it's all on one disc, it doesn't say that, and that jars me.
It's $4.99 to buy the regular one, and it's $5.99 to buy the extended one. Is that extra half hour worth £1?
That could get you 30 extra minutes.
Okay, so I've got some homework to be doing. Is there anything else that we need to cover before I go off and find some time to watch this film?
I think you should thank us for not making you watch all the director's commentary.
They are the best bit. What are you talking about? Behind the scenes, making of, book to film.
I mean, there'll be more episodes, I'm sure.
We'll drop so much trivia about like what's going on behind the scenes, like when he breaks his toe and stuff. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
All original stuff.
So my plan is I'm going to watch this film. I will make some notes while I'm watching. That will make sure I'm paying attention. And then I'll bring those notes back and we'll go through them. And we're going to go through my opinions of the film. We'll go through my expectations compared to how it is. I'll give a little review and then you guys can talk to me about what I've missed. What I totally have misunderstood.
That Sauron guy seems alright.
You say that, but I always find a way to empathize with the baddie. So
Thanos is just trying to solve global warming.
if he is a baddie, you better be sure I'm going to have a Sauron t-shirt by the end of this. Anything else to add before I go and watch this film?
I have a task. Note down every time they say volcano in the film.
Right, okay. I'll bring up my... Ooh, this is a good question. Is this a film that I can watch with my infant child in the room?
I think most children would enjoy it, but it does have some frightening scenes for younger children.
How old is your infant child?
Nearly 2, but he's watched Scream and he was alright with that.
Well, yeah.
Bad.
Yeah, like people die and there are some horrible monsters, but it's all like, you know, it's PG sort of violence. It's
Okay.
No one gets ripped out and no one gets.
Yeah, that's the main thing I'd be worried about is gore or like really bad language. Those are the kind of things I'm just avoiding. Anyone drop any hard R's in Lord of the Rings?
There's no banned language in Lord of the Rings.
no, it's all orcs swearing.
Okay. So until next time, I'm going to go off and watch this 3.5-hour extended version of fucking fantasy bollocks.
The shortest of the trilogy. All right, well,
Cheers, guys. Okay, off I go.
Okay, so Rhys, you've seen it. Time to see what thoughts you've got. So what do you think?
I have gone off. I've paid £9.99 for the pleasure, and I have seen Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring. What do I say? A general sort of review. I feel like I need to watch the others, otherwise I'm not going to do it justice with a review. That's kind of where I'm at.
it is part of a whole.
I don't feel any the wiser at all about anything. I know a bit more about what a hobbit is, I guess.
That's something.
but I feel like I've just taken like a little nibble of this world, and it's an interesting world, but like standalone as a film, I've got way more questions than I had before I started. But did I enjoy my 3 hours 40? Well, it said 3 hours 48 minutes, but I think something silly like 25 minutes was credits. So I enjoyed my 3 hours and 10 minutes. I think, yeah, I enjoyed it.
After surprise.
That's better than I expected.
I suppose that does make this episode quite a lot easier. Then no, I hated it. Let's not talk about it anymore. Done.
Yeah.
A lot less tension.
Or just like loved it, no notes. So obviously I have notes. I figured it'd be a good idea if we go through like a play by play. While I was watching, I'm taking some notes, and I thought it might give you guys a chance to just chip in because I've got questions, I've got comments. So I'm gonna kind of remind myself of the film because I feel like it was years ago I watched it, because it was a long time from starting it to finishing it. And I did have to split it in two. I had to do it in 2 sessions. I'm gonna go through from the beginning. So the first thing that happens in this film, right, gave me a strong tone of what I was walking into. I watched everything with the subtitles on. It said Elvish voice. Elves are the best race. Essentially, there was an Elvish voice that said something about rings, and 3 of those rings went to the elves. By the way, they are the wisest, fairest of all beings.
Not biased narrator.
So yeah, something about rings. 3 went to the elves. 7 went to dwarves. 9 went to men. Why? What's that? Why is that? Why was that the division?
Why those numbers?
I believe it's just because that's how many, lords there were for each race. That you go, okay, well, there's definitely like 5 of them, so we'll do that.
Yeah, to be fair, I think it was based on kingdoms.
It seems like the men maybe thought more about this then and went, well, we'll have 9 if that's all right.
Men also had more land to go all the way to the east as well.
Okay, so there's more people to rule, so there needs to be more ring, because you can only rule if you have a ring. Is that it? I don't know. Anyway, and then 1 went to Sauron, who had the sickest Power Ranger villain intro ever. It was like old school 90s, really took me back to Power Rangers. He's like standing flames in the background, like pointing out this really cheesy guy in a suit. I was like, this is Power Rangers all over. I've got time for this.
I've heard a rumor that part of the intro where he stood over the volcano was actually cut from a longer scene with him forging the ring.
And then
I don't know,
getting into a Megazord. And
Yeah.
so I thought that was cool, and I immediately got off to a good note with Sauron.
Good guy.
Yeah, good guy vibes. And then, but Sauron got the best one because it said 1 ring to rule them all. And I've heard that somewhere else, so I wrote that down. But for some reason, I'm trying to get my head around this, and this is going to come up a lot, I'm not going to lie. Sauron made a ring that he put all his power and evil into, but then it made him stronger. Wasn't it just part of him anyway?
Tethers him to the world.
And my interpretation was that's bound to the other rings as well because it was forged in the same forge. So it makes him like the puppet master of anyone who wears the other rings.
So a real jewelry heavy kind of leadership system, which I'm not against. And then he gets his finger cut off, he explodes, and 2,500 years later, Gollum exists. And I heard about Gollum, I know Gollum, I've seen Gollum's characterization in lots of things, but I forgot to mention that last time because I saw him and I was like, I know that guy. But my impression was that Gollum was like just a little side thing, just a little side character that existed. But he's like the basis of this whole film. Like, it's all about Gollum. Yeah, he's running the whole thing, so that took me by surprise. And then we go to a guy called Bilbo. He digs up the ring, draws a map, he's some kind of author. Is Bilbo a nod to the author of the books? That's a question I have, because he's writing stuff about hobbits, and he's writing in that kind of way that I've seen things of this world written in. Like, is Bilbo a bigger character than it's shown in this first one?
He's a big deal in other books in the Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth. Whether he's like a metaphor for the author, it depends like which interview you read as like whether Tolkien believes in metaphors or not. But yeah, he just seems to love this idea of rural folk with their feet up enjoying their retirement.
Doesn't he just? I mean, I could relate. It's great. So yeah, we got Bilbo, and then we meet hobbits, and we meet Frodo, not Fredo. We meet Frodo, who is Elijah, which I did remember that Elijah Wood was in this. The hobbits are in a lovely little place called the Shire, ? Yeah. And there was a really funny line about being late that I can't remember when Gandalf was late. Something about wizards are always on time.
A wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
Perfect, absolutely perfect. That the whole all of that got off to a really good footing with me. Like really cool Power Rangers villain, nice bit of setup, someone exploding, a big war, and then a really lovely village and a funny little line. I'm in for a treat here. And Dumbledore meets Harry, and
Wait, wrong notes.
this film and interactions between Gandalf and Frodo does not stop being Dumbledore and Harry. It's throughout it, and I'll probably point it out, but it's the same. And Elijah looks a little bit like Radcliffe, to be fair. So that's a vibe I got a lot, and similar kind of relationship. There's a lot of memes in this, which I realized were from this film, and I had no idea. So there's the Keep Your Secrets meme that came up. I was excited about that. And then I was trying to work out how old hobbits live to, because Bilbo has his 111th birthday.
Yeah.
But I had no context for whether that was old or young for a hobbit.
So that is not a normal hobbit age. He is much older than a hobbit would normally be because he had the ring. So that'd be why when you see him later on, he's a lot older because he doesn't have it anymore.
So did Bilbo wear the ring, or do you just having it give you a bit of the power?
I think he wore it from time to time, but by that point, not very often.
There's very, very unnecessarily small circular doors and corridors in Bilbo's house. And this is another thing that came up, is the height discrepancy of hobbits is wild. Like, the continuity of how tall hobbits are in this film is off the chain. Like, they just throw in, like, I'll just make them smaller than everyone else. But, like, there's no scale. And I'll comment on it every now and again. But in this one, Bilbo's standing there, and there's about a foot between Bilbo's head and his roof. And Gandalf's, like, fully doubled over, like he's waist height with this roof. And then a little bit later, he's talking to Frodo, and Frodo's up to his shoulder, honestly.
So I've got here, hobbits are typically between 2 and 4 feet.
No fuck.
He was 5'11" in some scenes.
How tall is Gandalf meant to be? Because he strikes me as tall.
With or without hat?
Is his head not that shape?
Gandalf is 5'11" in the films, but he's meant to be 5'6" in the books.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I always just got the impression he was really tall.
They seem tall.
Back in old days, people were small though. And this is meant to be a historical folklore, so.
Malnourished wizard. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's going to come up a lot. It just kept getting to me, because obviously, like, with the shots from front on, with the actor's face, they don't really need to give that much context for height, but they might just have another character next to them, so you can see they're, like, up to their chest or something. But then there's a bit where, like, two hobbits are, like, having a little scrap with someone, and it's like little people under hip height. They're, like, 3.5 foot tall. So, yeah, that was winding me up. There's a hobbit party. Frodo's the only good-looking hobbit, and that's got to be tough for him, because they're all really weird-looking. Like, comically weird-looking, and Frodo's gorgeous. I just don't know how he gets on. It's tough. I feel pain, just want to put it out there.
The only single hobbit, though. You know?
Well, I guess they've got a type. Then there's some hobbit kids who are really cute but need haircuts. And do they get haircuts? Does their hair stop growing after a certain time? Because some of them got short hair.
Do hobbits have barbers?
But do they all choose to, like, shoulder length and curly, please?
I assume you're talking about the little girl during the fireworks.
I don't know. There was like 4 or 5 little kids, and they were all dead cute.
I believe one of them was Peter Jackson's daughter.
Really?
I think so.
Who's Peter Jackson?
The director.
Not the Lightning Thief.
No.
Okay. Bilbo only took on the poor orphan Frodo, who was his blood relative and was going to die without his help because he showed spirit.
Yeah.
Not because he had any obligation towards him. Not because he felt he needed, just because he had a little spunk about him. That I don't know about Bilbo, guys. I don't know about him.
I know. He's not like the best guy, because in The Hobbit, he's a bit of a dick. So
He's different to everyone else because his mother comes from a different part of the Shire where they're more adventurous, let's say.
Oh, tell me more.
So he's kind of frowned upon as like, oh, look at him, you are hobbiting. Just a little bit of casual racism towards the hobbit.
Oh, there's nothing casual about the racism in this film. Like, they hate each other so much throughout. It's madness. And then we meet my 2 least favourite characters in the entire film, who are the 2 dickhead hobbits that tag along to everything that we're doing.
Merry and Pippin, bless them.
Merry and Pippin. Fuck those guys. Fuck those guys.
Oh. Yeah. No, I get it. They're obnoxious.
It's like they're meant to be comic relief, but they do nothing funny.
They have a role to play later,
I hope it's fucking sacrifices.
but I think they're just young and inexperienced.
I'm sure that may be really young.
I feel like in the books they're about 20 years younger than Frodo is.
So they're not mature.
Yeah, so like teenager hobbit.
So they steal this dragon firework. I've no idea why, because all they do is steal it and set it off. But surely the whole point of Gandalf bringing it is set it off. So again, pointless characters doing pointless shit. 11T1, really nice way of saying 111. Love it. Bilbo's got a nice way of speaking. I'll give him that. He's got a really lovely turn of phrase that's really ring. I do enjoy that. A lot of the hobbits do, to be fair, and Gandalf. They're just like, I don't know, just the way their dialogue is written is really just nice. They twist their words around a little bit, and I enjoyed that all the way through.
Now, Tolkien's intention was basically to make like the next sort of Nordic mythology when he wrote these, so it's quite poetic in the way people speak.
Tolkien was an ambitious man, was he?
Yeah, a little bit. Just made up his own languages in completion just because he was bored marking exam papers.
And then wrote a story about it.
So Bilbo's got the ring. He goes invisible with the ring, which is something I knew would happen from Family Guy. He gets a bit Gollum-y. No, not Family Guy, American Dad.
Oh, big distinction.
Gets a little bit Gollum-y. Gandalf knows what Gollum is from that. That seemed important at the time. Seems obvious looking back. Gandalf gets serious. I blinked and I kind of missed what happened to Bilbo, and then Frodo had the ring. Then cut to Mount Doom, literally spitting fire like a volcano, but I concede, Amy, they do not call it a volcano once in this movie. How many fucking mountains have fire that aren't volcanoes and is literally erupting when you cut to it? But I do concede it's Mount Doom. And then a fun little thing, the ring changes sizes according to who's wearing it. That was something I didn't know was possible with rings.
Magic in it.
Then, what is a Hobbit accent?
Isn't it West Country?
Yeah.
Is it? Does Elijah have a bit of a West Country twang in this, does he? Because he's very posh English speaking. And the majority of them are West Country, but I swear to God, every now and again it goes Welsh.
Generic rural west of London.
Anyone with a farm.
So we're in the pub now, and the Hobbits are singing a song, and that's all the shit about fantasy I love. Love all those songs, love the pub scenes where everyone's just having a lovely time, and then you know it's about to kick off. So I enjoyed that. That was good. So they're looking for the ring that Frodo's been trusted with. So they go back to his house, and Frodo's just stuffed it in the bottom of a chest under a bunch of papers. And he's like, oh, I see it somewhere. It's like, you were literally given it like 3 hours ago.
It was more than 3 hours.
I think in real life, it was about 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah, something like that.
That didn't come across at all.
They put that bit a little bit shorter.
It felt like it was the next day.
Yeah,
But it does cut to like Minas Tirith. It's like the hell of the word.
but you're not going to know that from the first film.
Who's gone where?
See?
Gandalf went on a little journey, didn't he? He did some research. He found out that this was indeed the ring he thought it was. And then he went to try and figure out how it came to be in the Shire. And that's when he learns that Gollum had it and lost it, and that Gollum had dubbed them in.
That didn't cross. I knew that because he
No.
was a wizard. Okay,
That would, yeah, that's just a slightly explanation.
Fair enough. After a couple of months, Frodo got bored of having the most important ring in the world. The ring whispers in black speech, which obviously is going to come up a little bit more. I don't love that phrase. I just think you could have picked something different, maybe. But I'm guessing it's the language of evil. I'm not really sure how that's determined. Do you study it in school? Or is it something that you just get if you're evil? Or is it a certain race that speaks black speech? That's not clear now, even having watched the whole film, so maybe you can enlighten me as to what black speech is.
Yeah, I don't know the origins of it. I just always thought it was like a dialect of Elvish spoken in Mordor, but...
Kind of stumped me there, actually. That's a good question.
Oh, I'm glad I've got you on, mate.
Andy, why don't you know the detailed history of his fictional language?
Because like in theory, the orcs should just speak Elvish, shouldn't they? So it must be like something to do with Sauron as opposed to the orcs.
I can say that there are two types of black speech. There's pure, which is spoken by Sauron, the Nazgul, and there's like a debased one used by the soldiers and orcs. So there's like a dumbed down version, let's say, for the lower ranks. But Sauron himself speaks pure black speech.
Nice, okay. Thank you. So just Sauron's little language that he's got his club speaking. That's cute. I like it. Then my next question: why can't he make another ring? Why is he looking for this one? He's put elements of himself into it, does he not?
I think he's put all of himself into it, and he doesn't have a physical body anymore.
At least in the film, he doesn't have a physical body.
And also more lore to do with who helped him make the rings.
God, yeah. For some reason, I've written down is Sauron an elf, and I don't know why I've written that or what gave me that impression, or if it even matters. Is he? Is he an elf?
So he disguises himself as an elf from time to time. He was one of the Maya, a lesser divine being.
So next up, we've got some more really good acting from Elijah, where he goes, "But it cannot stay in the Shire," and trying to decide where to take the road. Elijah he's not a good actor, is he? Bless him.
Not at this point.
And then we meet my, and probably a lot of people's, absolutely favourite character in this, and he's probably going to be my favourite character till he inevitably dies, and that is Sean Astin. Samwise Gamgee, which is a fucking stupid name, but he's great, isn't he? He's class. I love Sam all the way through. He is just immense. Gives real, like, just proper companion vibes. Like, he lives to serve, and he's a little bit funny, and he's a little bit cute, and he's just super useful all the time. And we should all have a little Sean Astin next to us, I think.
He does give that grounded sort of, why the fuck are we doing this? Why are we here? What are we doing this for? The kind of vibe. He represents the viewer in a way. Shouldn't we just go back? But yeah, he does buy in towards the end.
So Frodo and Sam go off for a walk in the woods. They've got bacon and tomato and sausage. I don't know where any of that's coming from. I didn't see any pigs in the Shire.
He did. The intro. There's walking a pig.
I saw cows. There was a pig, was there?
Oh, yeah, there walked a pig.
Oh, cool thing. But I don't know, I just question the food hygiene of packing raw sausage and bacon with you when you were going walking. But to be fair, they eat it everywhere they go, so I quite like that as a little theme through the film in the end. But it annoyed me in this first bit. I was like, why are you having a fry up in the woods? Oh, they see some wood elves going somewhere, and they look a bit culty.
In the extended edition, you do, yeah.
Well, that's the edition I watched, because that's the edition you told me to fork out an extra £6 for. So.
Yeah, it's the only one.
You have to say some elves, didn't you? Be happy.
I'll get to the elves in a minute, mate. And then we see Saruman. Why they had to name him Saruman, I don't know, because that confused me for all the film. The fact that there was a Saruman and a Sauron. Could have picked something else. And we see the Eye of Sauron. There's a bit of exposition that probably helps. And then I think it's Gandalf that says, we don't know who else could be watching, because they got that little crystal ball thing, they cover it up. And they're like, we don't know who else could be watching. And he literally does like a wink to camera. I thought that was really, really funny. Gandalf seems like he's meant to be the viewer's pal throughout this film. And I quite like that. Like, I don't know if that's intentional or just, is it McKellen? If it's just the way he played it, but he's just a little bit goofy and I like that. Gandalf and Saruman have a fight, which is just pushing and spinning, but with magic. And Gandalf spanned so much that he died. There we go. I know he's not dead. I've heard the term Gandalf the Grey, I've heard the term Gandalf the White, and I don't know which one this was, but I know there's more Gandalf at some point, so I'm not that worried about him. Hobbits, oh good, these idiots are back, is that what I made? And they all fall down a hill because of some shit those idiots are doing. I think they jump out on him or something. And immediately I was like, oh, that ring's fallen out of his pocket then, innit? Because we've seen him put him in his chest pocket. He's just fallen down a big hill and he's lost it. He didn't lose it in the end, so I was happy about that. And they see Spooky Horseman, who's looking for them. Frodo nearly puts the ring on. This seems like a very early time in the quest to be already contemplating the one thing he's not meant to do on this quest, which is put the ring on. He's gone into the woods, seen a scary horseman, and he's like, that's it, boys. That's it. It's going off.
Please tell me you know what this horse guy, like what he is. And he's not just a spooky horseman.
All right, I know later, but at the moment when I'm writing my notes, I don't know. It's a Nazgul who is a wraith, who is someone who's been corrupted by the ring. Am I wrong in thinking this is the 9 men who had the rings? Is that who they are?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm fucking smart.
You say earlier, what minute in the film is this? Like, hour and 20 or something?
I wrote it. I can't remember if it was like an hour 17 when they set off.
That's the length of some films, yeah.
He's not even on the way to Mount Doom, so he's not even started his quest yet. At this point, I think he's on the way to Mount Doom, right? Because I know that's a plot point. So I don't know where he's going. So when he gets to where he's going, and then they talk about going to Mount Doom, I'm like, bro, I could have fucking told you you need to go to Mount Doom. What are we doing? What are we doing this first hour and a half? And then, yeah, more about the size of hobbits, because now they're at the bar and they're looking up to the bar as if they're way below the height of the bar. So again, they're even smaller than they seem. The ring goes on, because that just happens by accident when you fall over.
Mm-hmm. Happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
It's because the ring wants to be put on, so the ring's almost like can like manipulate it to be like, oh look, oh no, sorry, that was me. Here we are.
No, sorry. Ellen again. Whoops.
Your fingers again.
Lutsy little ring. I got you. More horsemen arrive. Try to do synchronized stab in the sleep. I do respect the rigor of stabbing lots and lots and lots of times and then checking that it was a person under there because they've seen movies before. They know this could be pillows.
So it's like
So-
playing. Oh,
Yeah, checked, and lo and behold, it's pillows. And this is where I find out they're called Nazguls or ring wraiths. They were the 9 rings.
you met Strider at this point.
Who? I thought Strider was a nickname for one of these guys. Oh, the man, the beard man.
Guy who rescues them from the bar, who's never called Strider again.
Aragorn. I knew his name was Aragorn, and I don't know why. I just don't. I don't have that information in my head. But from the second I saw him, I went, that's Aragorn. And this pops up on my list I've got a little bit later of like fantasy tropes. And he was one of them, and that was a cool guy sitting in the corner of the bar. He was a little bit threatening. And also there was hiding under blankets and getting stabbed, and it's just pillows. That was the one. Then for some reason I got obsessed with what kind of clock they use in this world because they said 11sies and second breakfast. So I was like, oh, they use the same kind of clock as us. And then I was like, oh, is it just Earth? Because I'm being stupid and focusing too much now. Aragorn just carried a deer like it was nothing. So I'm starting to like him because he's a strong boy.
Because you're a sexy main character.
Saruman is chatting with orcs now. I thought orcs would be taller. Saruman has been told to build an army and cut some trees down, and I didn't know why, and I still don't really know why.
Because the evil of industry.
Yeah, it's a metaphor for industry equal bad.
Is it?
Yeah.
Basically, Sauron wants another army, so he makes Saruman build one.
Okay.
And you need to cut the trees down to fire the forges, make armor, weapons.
Okay, so they're mining and stuff. I got you. Gandalf wakes up at the top of a tower. I've seen this tower in the video game Shadow of Mordor, so they looked familiar and I liked it. It seemed to be a source of Saruman's power for some reason, being at the top of that tower. It wasn't really explained why, but again, this is one of the things where I feel like this is building a world. It's obviously building a world, and I have no conception of that world. So it's like, oh, towers equal strong, I guess.
Evil towers.
The hobbits are all given daggers. This is our next trope where everyone gets weapons at the same time in the quest. They still have bacon and they still have sausages and eggs. And they put out the Frodo puts out the fire with his hairy feet, and nothing is even commented on.
His big hairy latex foot.
Yeah. He's just fine with it. He's not in pain. He's not on fire. He just stamps out that fire.
They walk around barefoot all the time. It's just callous.
Big leathery foot.
It's fire, Mark.
You've seen Nans get baking trays out the oven, haven't you? They just grab it. Like...
Yeah, with their hairy feet.
I am glad your nan never made me any food, Mark.
So he puts out the fire so they don't attract the Nazgul. Sam tries to fight. Frodo tries to run. Back to using the ring straight away, obviously. And he sees the wraiths as like old dying guys. They still get him. Aragorn helps, and they don't like fire. Frodo's useless in this whole film. They should have given the ring to Sam. Then we cut to a mine. There's a little butterfly in the mine. There's orcs making armor and weapons. And then a really, really gross bit where orcs are like being born from the mud.
Urukai?
Okay, yes.
Tell me about that.
Saruman mixed orcs with human men and magic, and the film has interpreted that as pods underground, and
Egg sacks in the mud.
got to make an army somehow.
They were described as worming their way out of the ground like maggots. That's just what they thought that looked like.
It was horrendous. It was really gross. But also when they're born, they've already got piercings. That was weird. This guy had a nose ring.
Was it after they being born, or were they just being like unearthed from like a banishment? I never understood that, but really, to be fair. Released.
Yeah. Interesting. They were produced, let's say, underground, because it let him be able to keep the growth of the army hidden from view. So no one else knew how strong his forces were.
So they went to school, they got piercings and tattoos, and then they got buried again.
Saruman crossed orcs with goblin men. Gandalf is against interbreeding, I guess. And this again just gets into how everything here is about race. All I've heard about orcs so far, never met an orc in my life. It's been nearly an hour and a half, and all I've heard is orcs are bad and orcs evil.
Yeah, they bring the neighborhood
Orcs
down. They bring property
should-
prices down. Don't want them.
And orcs should by no means crossbreed, like according to Gandalf.
Stick to themselves. That's what I say.
So it's just the message I'm getting as an innocent viewer. Then we cut to some big troll. Oh yeah, this is another theme I like throughout the film, is that the landscapes were just beautiful, but also there's just like these really big statues or walls or that are just like epic. And there was like big statues of trolls in the woods, which I thought were incredible. And hopefully they're statues, but Mark's doing a smile now that suggests that they're not. I thought they were pretty, and I'd like to go and see them.
Yeah, like throughout the films, like that does give you the feeling that this world has been lived in a while. You are not joining the story at the start of the story. You're joining like late to the story. Like a lot has happened already.
Yeah, it feels like going into ancient Rome. Like there's just
Yes.
statues of like that either fallout of wars everywhere and stuff. It's really cool. That's something I really like about.
I feel Rhys has to watch The Hobbit at some point as well.
I get that. Okay, Frodo goes into the Shadow World, and then they're talking about ingredients for things, and they're talking about lots of different plants, and I feel like it's like they're just name dropping to prove they've read the books. They're just like, oh, if we use like bucklewood and mix it with birch root, and then...
Do you know the Athelas plant?
Athelas?
Kingsfoil.
Kingsfoil, it's a weed.
It may help to slow the poison. Hurry.
Does this have anything to do with anything? Like, I get it, you're in a fantasy world, just why naming shit?
It's more Aragorn knows them in Elvish, so that's why he's using like the Elvish names for the plant, whereas Sam is more used to the common,
He's a god.
like calling it Kingsfoil as opposed to Athelas, is it? I want to say.
I did not pick up on the fact they were using different terms. I thought they were just talking about different things. Then we meet the elves. Frodo sees Arwen. Just again, this is going to go into my theory that elves are all Welsh.
Yeah.
It sounded so Welsh when you said it.
What else do we say, Arwen? How do you say it? Say her name.
Arwen.
Behave yourselves.
Is Rhys later going to say Elrond instead of Elrond?
Who the fuck is Elrond?
The guy from The Matrix.
L. Ron Hubbard. Scientology guy.
Fucking hell.
Elf Lady and Aragorn have got something going on, and Aragorn gets her on a horse and just says, "Ride hard, don't look back." And there was a little bit of sexual tension in there, I think. Frodo gets carried on a horse. He is a burden to everyone, was my note there. Everyone he meets, he in some way is a burden on.
Can't help but fuck it up. Yeah.
So the Wraiths come from on horses. There were different numbers. Are there 8 of them? 6 of them? Because I thought 5 of them died from Aragorn. I thought Aragorn killed them with the fire and his sword.
Nah, they're pretty much them all.
Okay, but they all seem to be back anyway, chasing after the elf. The elf just parted the Red Sea, and Wraith still just as soon as there's a bit of water. So this guy's only job seems to be to take the most important ring in the world off this tiny, tiny, tiny boy. But 50 centimeters of water, and he's like, this is fucking not worth it, lads. And he turns around. So he's done.
It's sort of referring to like the old wives' tales, isn't it? Like they can't cross running water.
I like that as a comparison.
Also, the Elvis magic around the area, as the horses show.
Maybe they can't get past a layer of salt as well. Maybe like a ring of salt around the ring, and they'll be like, shit.
Frodo wakes up. It's 10 a.m., October 24th. And that again got me obsessed that they use the same date and time structure as us. But again, I think I'm overthinking that. There we go. Lord I still can't say this name. Lord
Elrond.
What? Elrond? I put enrolled for some reason.
Lord enrolled. Enrolled in what?
Lord enrolled in a BTEC. He looks like every British villain ever. So I'm immediately suspicious of him. And then we're in Riverdale, and Bilbo is somehow here. And Riverdale seems to be like the elves. I don't know.
Are you saying Riverdale?
Yeah?
Riverdale?
Am I wrong?
Riverdale?
Riverdale. Is that
Rivendell.
Rivendell.
Yes.
Because Riverdale was a drama series on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, and then Aunt
It's not that.
Yes,
Orlando Bloom is here, and a familiar-looking dwarf. I've seen this dwarf before. I know his name is Gimli. Again, I have no idea why, but I'm not sure I ever learned that in this film.
Yeah. When they all sit down, they say who they are one by one.
Icebreakers, yeah.
And they do two truths and a lie, don't they?
Yeah, you've also played Mind of Moria, which has also got John Rhys Davies playing Gimli.
Maybe. I like Gimli a lot. I've got a lot of time for him, and I smell a group meet cute. So this cuts into my next movie trope that fits in. Is everyone's just like, I am an archer. Would you like me to come with you? No. I am good at the sword. Would you like me to come? The ring can be destroyed in Mount Doom. Isildur didn't want to do that. Aragorn could lead men, but he chose exile instead. Those are just facts I wrote down so I didn't forget.
Yes.
Another bearded hair guy that looks like Aragorn but isn't Aragorn, and this is going to confuse me until that other guy inevitably dies. Seen that broken blade before? Oh yeah, he plays with the blade that is the blade that cut off the hand of Sauron,
Yeah.
and I've seen that. I think that's like an attribute logo in some of the Shadow games.
It's like the dagger in Shadow of Mordor, isn't it? Like a broken sword.
So I know it's important, but that's pretty obvious anyway. And he just dropped it on the floor and left. What a prick. I don't like that guy immediately. He's just gave bad vibes. Everything about this guy says he's going to double cross everyone.
Oromir is his name, by the way.
I've already forgotten
That guy.
I've already forgotten it. They just use vowels incorrectly in this film. All right, and that's why I can't remember a single fucking name. Aragorn is
As the Welshman, carry on.
So Aragorn is related to Isildur, I learn, and he kisses the girl and gets some jewelry off her. I assume this is some kind of elf spell where like you give them that and you've got their heart or something. And then I realise where I've recognised this guy I hate from, and he's the One Does Not Simply guy, isn't he?
Yes.
Yes. So there's another meme.
Sean Bean? How do you not know Sean Bean?
What else are you?
A lot.
A lot.
What?
Game of Thrones.
GoldenEye, Sharp.
I haven't seen it. So, right. This is what, again, makes me thinking there's a lot of Welsh in here. Gandalf says Mordor, like not Mordor. He's like Mordor. He says it like Taggart, like there's been a Mordor. And you can look on that in that scene exactly when they're all sat in the circle in Rivendell. Listen to how he says Mordor. You won't stop hearing Taggart.
So Welsh was a significant influence for Elvish languages.
Knew it. I'm going to make even more points for that later. Gondor has no king and needs no king. I can get behind that. King is not needed. Right, this is a quote from, I think it's Gimli. Never trust an elf. Just another bit of casual racism. He's in the elf's house. He's in their little home. Never trust an elf. All right.
At least he's not two-faced about it.
I'm 1 hour and 44 minutes into this film, and the quest has started. They have decided to go to Mount Doom. 1 hour and 44 minutes. What have I been doing? I know nothing more than I knew before. Except I've got a little bit of a face to a name situation. And then there's literally, I joked about it a minute ago, you have my sword, my bow, my axe. Like, just people listing their contributions. And those two little hobbit guys were pretty quiet during that part. And then this is the bit where, what's his name? The Lord Elrond. Lord Elrond says, you will be the Fellowship of the Ring. Dun, dun, dun. And that's when I stopped watching and had a little break. And then I started watching again. Cut to Aragorn at a grave. He doesn't want power, but he's the last of the bloodline, but no one else can do that, apparently. This got me. So obviously Isildur had the power, right? Stop laughing. That's his name. Obviously. That's
Elvish is based off Welsh, apparently. Not
How else would you pronounce D-U-R other than deer?
Door.
Name an English word where it sounds like that.
Durability.
Really quick.
Durability. Anyway, so Isildur had it by like absolute instant. He happened to cut off his hand. He was just involved in the war. He happened to cut off his hand, happened to put it on, and was okay. So why are his descendants the only people who could now have the ring? That's what they're saying. No one else could do it. He's the last in Isildur's bloodline. Why is Aragorn the only one that could do it?
The last of the bloodline to take over the kingdom of Gondor. Or the
I thought we were on
royal
about the ring.
bloodline. No.
No, Isildur just took it like spoils of war kind of thing. He just went, this is mine now.
So they're on about who's going to take the throne. Well, fuck
Yeah,
that.
but-
That's nonsense. No one cares about that. Okay.
Yeah, so Isildur was a king, and Aragorn is his last descendant.
Why would anyone want to be the king in this? Or of the elves? The elves all seem sound. Why would any of them care about who was the king of... I don't care about that. Anyway, Frodo gets mithril chain from Bilbo. Bilbo gets him to undress in a really creepy way, and then gets really creepy about the ring while he's getting undressed.
That terrifying jump scare.
Like, Bilbo is surprised that he's got it as well. It's like, you gave it to him. And that's the whole conversation we had last night was about Frodo having the ring and taking it to Mount Doom. And now Bilbo's like, you got that ring, haven't you? Oh, that's nice. Like, well, yeah, where were you last night? Were we talking about this?
Last night.
Let's remember, it's like 20 years later.
They've been on an epic journey.
They haven't been anywhere.
It's been 20 years.
They've had 15 fry-up.
Behave yourselves. Right, the dagger glows blue when orcs are near. I'm sure that'll be important later. I guess all orcs are worth stabbing to the point where you need to know when anyone of that race. Continue as a theme, I guess, innit? Better have a weapon that tells you when any member of that race is nearby. The elves. Okay, I've had a good look at all the elves now and decided that Orlando is the only hot one, even though they're meant to be the fairest in the world. There's not many lookers. Lots of really nice views of the walk. And apparently, I think I have a bit of, for some reason, knowledge that this is in New Zealand. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Beautiful walk they go on. And I see the phrase Misty Mountains written down on a map. And I know that phrase because it's the name of a song on the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, which is the only song my baby would sleep to when he was newborn. So I know that song very well. And there's a tip for you. Gimli suggests cutting through the mines of Moria, which I'm really excited by because I've heard that phrase now in real life where it's meant to be heard as opposed to just a video game. But then they all say no, so I get a bit disappointed. So does Gimli, and then they're hiding from some crows, and then they're going through some snow. The weather changes a lot, or I have no concept of how long this quest is taking. Like, but they're going through all these landscapes and all these different weathers. I don't know if it's different seasons, different years. I don't know how far they're going. Can you give me an idea of scale here?
The film makes it feel like it's like in the space of a week, but I think the books, it was like years. So.
Yeah, what I've got not on me, it's upstairs, is a book that I parallel read that's from my grandparents, which is an exact date that every single thing happens for the entire. So they start in like April, I'm pretty sure, from what I can remember. I know there's some of it in April. I want to say until it takes 10, 11 months, but I don't remember 100%.
Maybe we should get that book out for the next film.
Every single scene I described, that was in May.
Yeah, literally, yeah. It says like every single day of the year and where they are.
That does sound cool. Then I learned that Boromir is the meme guy's name. He's tempted by the ring again, so obviously he's a baddie. Saruman can hear 100 crows talking, I guess. Saruman can also bring down a mountain from miles away, I guess. How is this a problem for him? He seems super powerful against some guys with bows and a hobbit. Why can't he just go get it? Is my next question. He's immensely powerful, but he needs these orcs? I don't get it. Everyone's buried by the snow. Gimli's buzzing because he gets to go to the mines. He gets really excited and I get excited for him. Then apparently the dwarves got greedy and dug too deep, and that's why people don't go to the mines of Moria. But it's freezing on the mountain, so they have a little bicker and then decide to go to the mines anyway. I don't fully understand the mines lore, but I understand they just kept digging deep until they got to like the depths of hell or something, I guess. We'll meet Balrog later, won't we? But is that because they dug so deep that they got somewhere bad?
Balrog was sleeping and they woke him up and he fucked him up.
Damn. Is Balrog a Balrog? Is he one of many or is he just one guy?
Shadows of War implies are just like an enemy type.
One of a limited number.
No more than 7.
7. Because they were Morgoth's generals who was Sauron's boss.
Okay.
And Earth and second age shit, don't worry about it.
What's the one from Star Wars? Because that's not Balrog, is it? But is it like Balrog? I thought Balrog was a Star Wars thing. What's the animal?
What are you referring to?
There's like a big animal that they get fed to in another film I haven't seen.
Sarlacc?
The Sarlacc.
Is that what it is?
Maybe. It's big, and it's big.
To be fair, I've just looked up, there is a Darth Balrog. He was a fallen Jedi Knight in Darth Orders. But I don't think that's what you're talking about.
I love that you're trying to stick up for me, but I don't think that's what I'm talking about. And then, I had a question. Like, how different is this version I watched? Because it seems like it's been remade a little bit. Some of the CGI seems fairly good for 2001. So, like, Is this version I would have watched just now any different from the version that came out in 2001? And like,
No.
what's different? No,
I don't
all the same.
no.
It was very good for its time.
It looks really good for 2001. Frodo is now shoulder height with Gandalf, but the other hobbits are waist height. Height consistency sucks. Gandalf is worried about going to the mines. I'm not sure why. Then they get to the walls of Moria, and there's another note where I'm just like, these landscapes are kick-ass. Like, the walls are huge and cool, and they've got troll statues. And it's all just really cool looking. Gandalf tries to open the walls. Elvish could easily be Welsh, was my next note, because Gandalf says something in Elvish that I swear to fucking God was Welsh. Then he's getting snippy with Peregrine. I don't know who Peregrine is.
Probably Merry and Pippin, is it?
Peregrine Took is Pippin's
Oh.
full name. Pippin's nickname.
Okay. And honestly, it's about time he's a wind up and this shit is serious. Like, this guy is cracking jokes about how he's not opened the walls. It's like, you guys nearly died on a mountain just now. What the fuck? They send the horse home, and the horse will just know his way, which is cool. A water monster gets Frodo. This is where the CGI dates the movie a little bit, because that looked awful. What is that thing? It's like a spider with tentacles, and it's never named, and we never see anything again. Is that a thing you want to tell me about? What's one of them?
It's called the Watcher, isn't it? Yeah, Watcher in the water.
Either way, it was terrifying. I didn't like it, but the CGI was shit. Gimli is so proud of being a dwarf, and he just wants to welcome his mates into the mines. He's sad about the dead people in the mines, and I feel so sad for him. He was so excited to go down there, and it's just a graveyard of everything he identifies with.
Like, oh, come round to my mate's house. It's amazing. He's got a pool. He's got come on, it's amazing. You get there and he's dead.
He's just dead. They're all fucking dead. And they say the goblins got them, so now I hear that goblins exist. They're ragging on orcs again, even though I haven't met one. I haven't even met one yet, and I've just heard 2 hours of hate against a full race. They're talking about how valuable the chainmail is, which I'm finding very, very funny, because I know that Frodo is probably wearing it. But they're on about how, like, oh, that chainmail, it was worth, like, I don't know, 3 times as much as his house or something like that. I thought that was very funny. Oh, here comes Gollum. Is he a threat? I don't know. He seems useless, but for some reason everyone's really cautious about him being around. But he's just like a little skinny guy. So at this point, I don't know if he's like a bit magic or if he's got some kind of threat about him. But his CGI eyes are awful. They're so bad. I don't know if you've ever seen. Well, of course you've seen it, but in Toy Story 1, Sid's dog's eyes, if you watch it now, look like they've been held up on the screen with paper. Like, they're so bad, and these are as bad. There's something about CGI at that time could not do eyes. I implore you to have another look.
It's something really weird about Gollum in the first film is that they just didn't put much effort into him, but then with the next two, a lot more effort went in.
I'm not sure we see Gollum's full form at all in this film, do we? Just see like hands and eyes. Maybe they just haven't cast him yet.
Oh, they'd cast him.
What? And they cast him as the same guy he's going to be in the next films?
Yeah.
But I don't think they were going to portray him motion cap until Andy Serkis actually started doing his thing, and then they went, oh, actually, this is better. Let's motion cap it rather than just like fully animate it.
Terrible CGI, fair play. There's a plan for Gollum and the greater good that Gandalf is talking to Bilbo about sparing someone out of pity. I didn't quite get what he was referencing.
See The Hobbit.
What?
Go watch another 3 films and you'll understand.
Okay. Gimli's sad. The Lord of Moria is dead. There's a spooky message in the book about a shadow. Took is still a fuck up. He dropped something down the well. Orcs are coming, finally. There's a massive fight with a troll, which is really, really cool. And Legolas shows to be pretty badass. So yeah, I think that bit was cool because we've don't know how long it's been, but we've actually got a big fight. There was like a little scuffle with the Nazgul, but it was nothing really. And now we've actually got like orcs come in, a big troll behind them. Everyone's having to get their axes out, get the swords out, bounce off each other a little bit. This was cool. This was where the film started coming together for me there, and it's where everyone started actually having strength rather than just people covering for the fuck ups. But then Frodo gets stabbed. Once again, proving how much of a burden he is on this entire thing. And when we find out he was wearing the chainmail all along, I can't help but think he was milking that bit, wasn't he? Like, we spent about 4 minutes of people jumping in front of him and sacrificing themselves for him and crying over him being about to die. And then he's like, oh, bit winded, lads. So bad. so bad. I'm really against Frodo in this. So yeah, it turns out he's wearing the chainmail. Of course he is, good. And then there are so many orcs or goblins, I couldn't quite tell which, chasing them through the mines. Like, so many. It seems that this is where they live. There's so many of them. Like, there's thousands chasing them, which again was really cool. Didn't, like, look bad or anything. It looked pretty cool. But then they just get cornered. All these orcs are circling them, and they're definitely about to get fucked up. But then all the orcs get scared away by Balrog, who comes. Swords are now no use, says one of the characters. So they throw all their swords on the ground. Exactly what you should do in this situation. And they run one tiny bridge in this entire mine that goes from here to safety.
To a fire exit.
Yeah, and there's nothing else, just one wall. So these mines, right? They're beautiful. There's so many like intricate columns, and the floor around these flat surfaces are really nice, and they're made really lovely. But they haven't put handrails anywhere. They've just got these loose stairs knocking about and loose bridges, but then they've spent seemingly thousands of hours like carving a column to get all these really nice shapes and stuff. Just a little bit of a handrail on those stairs because it's making me feel very uneasy.
Yeah, no health and safety practices.
You know how stumpy dwarves are? Like, you'd think they'd want a bit of security on some stairs.
Yeah, but they're sure-footed.
Low center of gravity.
Gimli says nobody tosses a dwarf, and then he jumps over, nearly falls, and he gets pulled up by the beard. He goes, not the beard! And I feel like, again, he's another character that seems to be, initially, it's like he's meant to be the comic relief, just like those two Hobbit fuckwits. But there's nothing funny about it. But he has got this pure, like, passion, and I do love him very, very much, because he's just very passionate about everything he does as Gimli, whereas the other two hobbits can go and die. Balrog / Diablo is here. You cannot pass. I thought it was shall, right? I've heard this term before. For some reason I'm aware of you shall not pass, and he goes, you cannot pass on this bridge, and then he proves me wrong, and he says it again, but he says you shall not pass this time.
You shall not pass!
And then that one bridge is destroyed. Balrog lassoed Gandalf's foot. And honestly, Gandalf seems omnipotent at this point, so it seems low stakes that he's gone. He's not dead, is he? I don't think anyone watches that at that time and thinks he's dead. But his last words would have been, fly, you fools, which I think is great. Like, those are good last words if he is dead. But that ties back to, do you remember I was telling you that I'm aware of this theory about this plot hole, about taking the eagle or whatever it is to fly to Mount Doom?
Yep.
Is this a reference? Is this Gandalf going, fly, you fools? As in, like, don't fucking walk there, you idiots. Why? Is that what this is?
Some people do believe that is what Gandalf meant. However, that's a very broad interpretation of what he's saying, because the way Gandalf speaks fly could easily just mean, run, because the goblins are coming. You're going to get pincushioned.
Just like an archaic way of saying run.
Yeah, he's saying flee more than actually fly. Because the issue with the eagles and why they couldn't carry them is because the eagles don't go to the realms of men.
Okay.
Because, once again, men are bastards and try and kill them.
Yeah, the eagles aren't just some animals they call upon. They're like a noble race in themselves. So they have their own diplomacy and rules. They're not slaves to hobbits.
I feel you're not enjoying that little tidbit there, Rhys.
Just comes down to race again, doesn't it, Andy? Seriously, the answer to everything in this is like, oh, well, he's an elf, so...
I'm not fucking picking him up. In my text.
Last words calling someone a fool is very Gandalf. Why don't they ever walk next to each other? Always in single file, like 2 or 3 meters spaced. It's like, guys, you're all friends.
Just no conversations for months.
They're all sad about Gandalf, but there's a lovely view, and Aragorn is already over it. There's like he's literally just going around like, guys, come on, it's all right. Let's get going. We got a job to do.
So if he turned around and said he's just a fucking wizard, would you have been surprised with the amount of racism so far?
I mean, I don't know. Is wizard a race?
Yeah.
It is a race. People are born wizards.
There's only like 5 wizards in the whole world because they come from...
Somewhere else.
Okay. Like, I can feel for Aragorn here because I've only known Gandalf like 2 hours at this point. But yeah, these guys are meant to have known him for what? It's been years now? Like, Frodo's known him for his whole life, and they're just like, come on, get your walking boots on, lad. We'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be. There's more elves. Elves and dwarves don't seem to get along, although there doesn't seem like much of a sample size of dwarves for me to make this assumption, to be honest, because I've only met one and they're all dead. But in general, elves and dwarves seem to not get along. Okay, you ready for this? This gets into why I think Tolkien is just flexing too much with his words. There's just too many words when they see the place with big trees that the elves take them to. Do you want to hear the name of this place? Caras Galadhon, the heart of Elvendom on earth, realm of the Lord Celeborn and of Galadriel, Lady of Light. That's the name of the place. None of that means anything.
I think some of that was like tagline and subtitle.
So here's my theory, right? And this ties into why Welsh and Elvish are exactly the same. Is that this is Middle Earth's equivalent of the Welsh train station. This is like this is it.
The place where the lady got stuck in the whirlpool or whatever it means. Like.
Yeah. Caras Galadhon, the heart of Elvendom on earth, realm of the Lord Celeborn and of Galadriel, Lady of Light. That's how one guy introduces this place the first time for someone else. What's its actual name? Which one of these is its name? What would you call it?
Lothlorien, I'd call it.
So none of them.
I think Lothlorien is like the area name, the woods.
So none of that meant anything then. Awesome. The shiny elven royals explaining Gandalf's death. Legolas says that they needlessly went to Moria, which is a bit sarky for me. Because what was their choice? They were like literally shoulder deep in snow at the time and they had to go somewhere. So I wouldn't say it was needless, and that was a bit harsh of Legolas. There's some chat between Aragorn and the mean guy. Frodo and the elf queen are near a mirror, the Mirror of Erised, where they see orcs burning down a village and enslaving hobbits.
Were they orcs that you saw?
Oh God, maybe. Who knows? Someone was burning down a village, and it was the Hobbit village, I think, and enslaving the hobbits. So that seemed. It wasn't clear if that was showing like what's gonna happen, what he wants to happen. I don't know. The Queen is really creepy, wanting the ring. It doesn't seem like she needs anything though, so I don't know why she cares. Like she's got everything. I don't know why she cares. Jesus Christ! Like this whole thing with the Elf Queen seems pointless. It's just reaffirming the quest with different soundtrack. Like literally, the whole big. They've just gone to this lady, and then the summary of everything that happens there is you should go to Mount Doom and get rid of that ring, I reckon. They were already doing that, so I'm not sure the point of it. Correct me if I'm wrong there.
I think it's also the fact that it's all just fucked up. Gandalf's died, and like, let's just go here because it's safe for a little bit.
Oh, they just want to stop something.
And the elves to fuck off. We don't want the ring here.
Then cut to Saruman hyping up Predator, which is what seems like, I think this is like his new breed of orc, I guess, which can be determined by a white handprint on the face, which they all seem really cool. I'm up for them. They seem like a really cool faddy type.
The white hand just means they're under command of Saruman.
Shit, that's in Shads, isn't it? I remember that now. Wow, that's really cool, actually. I just understood that. Elvish waybread, one bite to fill the stomach of a grown man. All right. Aragorn has been warned about Predator. How is everyone communicating? Can they all talk to crows? Is my next question. Because they seem to be aware of things that are happening on the other side of the world, and they ain't got phones. Like, what's happening here? This is my same gripe about, like, when I watch war films that are set, like, pre-1900s, when they're like, so-and-so is building a defense on this line. I've just seen them do that, like, 5 minutes ago. How do you know? Like, I'm watching
Scouts and shit.
Yeah.
Scout.
Magic.
Aragorn somehow finds out about them and they all get a bit scared. All get gifts from the elves. Gimli is still an absolute fucking cutie pie. He just asked for some hairs because she's so pretty.
Didn't see what he did with the hair. You wouldn't be saying that.
Well, he's got 3 of them. He can get 2 a little bit sticky.
That's actually a reference to like much deeper lore. It's really weird.
Okay.
I don't know that lore.
I can't remember if it's Morgoth or one of the other big bads asked her for a strand of her hair 3 times, and she told him no each time. And then, as a gift to Gimli, she gave him 3 hairs, like as a fuck you to the bad guy.
Oh, nuts. Aragorn has Arwen's love. Arwen is Welsh too. Are elves just Welsh? They're beautiful, they're smart, they're of the forest, and they're racist. So I'm pretty sure they're Welsh. Gollum's still following them. There's massive statues on the river, which are very cool. Mean Guy's still harping on about having the ring. How does going invisible help when he is literally being grabbed? Is it just invisibility, or is it actually like physically move into another plane of existence? That was my next question. Because he's being grabbed by, what's his name, Boromir? Like, Frodo's being grabbed, and then he goes, whoop, and then he's gone. Like, if you're grabbing someone and they go invisible, you're still going to be grabbing him, but he's not. So when you put the ring on, do you like, are you on another plane of existence for a bit, or?
No, I think you're just invisible, but I think he kicks Boromir off before he puts the ring on.
Okay.
Because in the Prancing Pony, Aragorn grabs him when he's invisible still, doesn't he?
Don't know what you mean by that.
The pub where they meet Strider.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense. Holy shit, that is a lot of orcs. Aragorn is just going to kill them all by himself, I guess. The fights aren't that impressive from a choreography point of view, but the setups and the enemy variety are really good. Like, choreography-wise, they're shit. Like, they're really lazy. Everyone's just doing the same slashes with their sword. Legolas is just standing there pulling infinite arrows up.
Yeah, it's that Power Rangers, putties thing where they're all waiting their turn to get hit.
Yeah, so like choreography-wise, they're bad, but the setup to this one is literally like they just turn around and there's 30 orcs there. It really increases the threat when they can just be loads of them right there at any time. And there's the fact that there's like normal orcs, there's the fancy boys with the white hands. I just like that. It gives another layer of depth to it, even if it doesn't look great. So I enjoyed that. Then the Horn of Gondor, which is a thing, which seems to call the orcs, but then it turns out it's just Barry Meanboy, and he's taken by a really chunky arrow from Predator. Like, this arrow was savage. It was like an inch in diameter right into his chest. I was like, fucking hell. He did alright to stay standing after that, but then he gets another one and he's a goner. Then I zoned out for about 10 minutes. And to be honest, look, it's been 3 hours. I got ADHD. I've done well to not zone out so far, but I've zoned out for 10 minutes and I've started paying attention again and Frodo's crying. I have no idea what's happened in that time. Any ideas?
Boromir redeemed himself a little bit by protecting Merry and Pippin, and then they realised, he was alright, actually, and now he's dead.
Aragorn then kills Predator, as you call him. Don't actually learn his name, do you, in the film?
It's Predator. Capital P.
Lurtz?
His name?
Lurtz.
Lurtz.
Okay.
So now they're rowing off in a boat. No, Frodo's rowing off in a boat. And Sam, who is incredible again, says, "What are you doing?" And he says something like, "I'm going on my own." And Sam says, "Of course you are, and I'm coming with you." And I was like, it's just pure Sam, innit? He doesn't even consider himself a member of the party, like a person. He's just like, yeah, you're good on your own, but obviously I'm there. Like he's just so sweet. He's great. And then he nearly drowns. And then it's been 3 hours 20, and my last note was just fucking hell. That wasn't even the last note. Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn are going to hunt orcs, I guess, judging by what they say. Again, I zoned out for 10 minutes, so I don't actually know why they separated or how they separated.
Aragorn finds Frodo at the boat, and he lets him go because that's what Frodo wants, pretty much. And so him and the other two go and try to rescue Merry and Pippin because they get taken by the Orcai.
Become professional orc hunters, for quest to kill orcs.
That sounds more fun than what they were doing, to be fair. So we're 3 hours 20 in, and I've written, I'm struggling to see how they made this nearly 4 hours long, never mind how they made 2 more movies. Sam and Frodo are on mountains. Wait, it's over. They didn't even get there. Oh my god. That's the end of the film. I thought the film was going to end when the quest was done, and I thought the other films were different quests. So that's it. That's the film finished. 3 hours and 25 minutes later.
Yeah, you said a lot there.
Seemed pretty deflated, but yes.
You were so happy at the beginning.
Do you want it on there?
Oh my days. It was just a lot. It was just a lot, And I feel like I was constantly on receive of information for that entire 3 hours 25.
The next for you, maybe give yourself a bit of a break to recharge. Next is Two Towers.
He's just crying in his hand.
You've got some good battles, so you'll like that.
I have heard that the Two Towers is a bit more actiony.
The action just scales up throughout the 3 films, and the payoff in the last half of Return of the King is worth everything.
Fucking better be. But yeah, I'm excited about a sequel. Like I said, I think it's built a big world, and at the moment that's really intimidating. And I'm not encouraged by the first film. Nothing from this film makes me think, oh yeah, this is going to be a good series. I'm basing that belief entirely off how much you guys love it, basically. Like that's just trust, because nothing about that first film made me think, hell yeah, they're onto something here. But again, I've seen things like it since then, whereas in 2001 it was probably a very different feeling.
All the things that you referenced that it was similar to obviously were similar because this came first.
That's it. Like the source material is always going to be the most important, isn't it? But it's almost not fair to judge it on that because it's had so much of a contribution.
Yeah.
Like without it, so many things don't happen. So it feels unfair to review it as a standalone film because that's not what it is anymore, is it? Like it's a contributor to not only its own lore, but loads of fantasy worlds that have been created because of people who were inspired by it.
Yeah. He was very big on not wanting to split it into 3 books. So for him, any adaptations that were done, he'd want them all to be like one big chunk of film rather than split up into separate films.
But they did get separated though, right? How many books did he write?
He wrote Lord of the Rings and then the publishers made him split it into 3.
Right, okay.
Because for him, he'd written The Hobbit for his kids. Then they were like, oh, this is good. What else can you do? He was like, all right, I'll do this.
So he wrote The Hobbit first.
Yeah.
The Hobbit movie has come out way more recently than the Lord of the Rings movies. And then they split the book into 3 books. And the 3 movies, this, Two Towers, Return of the King, do they all cover the whole Lord of the Rings book?
Yeah. As much as books and films can kind of work together, obviously there's bits missing that people would like to be in there. But, in general, I'd say it covers the key story.
Got you. So it's better than the book.
You missed some great characters from the book.
You talking about Tom?
Yeah, we're talking about Tom. Tom Bombadil is a character. He's just fucking weird. There's no explanation of who he is. He's just some big beardy guy with like blue overalls, red hat, and he's just there. And he just wastes a chapter or 2 in the book. Would have just added on an extra half hour to the film unnecessarily.
I think it'd be really fun if you try and give me an idea. What does the book add that I wouldn't have by now? If I just read the first book, considering I've just watched the first film, what else do I know about this world if I've read the book?
There are Barrow-wights, which are like a ghost which exist in book that don't exist in the film. Tom gives the hobbits the swords instead of Aragorn.
That seems massive.
Oh, they spend a long time in Rivendell in the book.
How? There's nothing there.
That service station.
On the slot machines for 4 hours.
The main thing that's different with the first one is just the tone of the movie, which is something that my grandparents always said, that the movie was a lot darker than like the books, which were a lot more hopeful and lighter.
And yeah, I was always told like The Hobbit was like a children's book to start with, but there's still a lot of really deep drama in the films.
Yeah, because in the Hobbit book, the battle at the end doesn't happen. He just like gets knocked out, wakes up, and it's all done because it was for kids.
That makes sense.
Slaughter of thousands.
I had a question for you all. I would like you all to individually answer this. Would you put the ring on?
I am easily corrupted, so yes.
I'd go with no.
I mean, do I know what the ring is, or is it just? Do I just think I've got a fancy magic ring?
Like you're Frodo. You have all the information Frodo has.
I'll try not to, but
as much as he does.
Frodo puts it on for a laugh. I think every time he does, he's kind of forced by external forces.
No, he isn't. Okay, I just wanted to know how much I can trust you guys. So I had my fantasy trope counter at the end was at 12, by the way. I'll do a really quick run through of all of them. I mentioned a few of them. So we've got an intro to all the different races / cliques in the first section. We've got a comically big birthday number for a fantasy creature. A hooded man in the corner of a pub that used to be cool and is now a cringy as fuck cliche. Stabbed sleeping pillow shapes. Singing, then being surprised when someone notices. All miraculously get a weapon at the same time in the quest. Talking about Aragorn in the third person, not knowing who it is, and then the camera cutting straight to his face. Girl wears jewelry, but it's never just jewelry when a girl's wearing jewelry. A new team is made, and they each list their position in that team. Someone saying we mustn't go there, and then they end up going there. A big dumb enemy troll character, literally a troll. Characters saying, hey, over here, to distract enemies, like that would ever work. So yeah, we got the big 12 in this one, but this is like the OG, so I expect a lot because that's probably where they came from, a lot of them.
So that does segue us onto predictions you made early on as well, because you did mention tropes. You expected tropes.
Indeed. I don't remember my other ones.
I made some notes, don't worry.
So good.
So one of your predictions was it would be a hero's journey that's going to take place to a volcano, based on what you knew going in.
Boy, was I wrong.
Well, you predicted they would not reach the volcano in the first film.
I forgot that. And I was expecting it.
So yeah, that was ticked up. You were curious to find out why the little man got the Ring of Power and how he is the one that is tasked to destroy it. Do you feel like that's been answered?
No, I'm still none the wiser as to why the most useless character in this film is the one that's been given the most important item in this film. Because he's uncorruptible seems to be the get-out answer. But,
Gandalf just had a sense he's the right guy for it, I guess.
I'd have given it to Aragorn, not gonna lie. He seems a bit more competent.
So Aragorn doesn't trust himself.
Did you just say arrogant?
Yeah, he's arrogant,
Arrogant.
So he doesn't trust himself because Isildur couldn't be trusted with the ring.
Historically, men haven't done well.
Another prediction you made with fantasy tropes, you thought there'd be a dwarf with an axe, correct? A lanky, pretty lad with a bow.
Orlando came, didn't he?
Yeah. You also predict a stealthy boy, possibly woman, who double crosses them.
Didn't get that, did we?
Nothing like that.
Not yet. There were quite a lack of women in this film, actually, looking back.
Yeah, that is one of the problematic themes some people point out with it now, is, it's very patriarchal. But
I think there's 2 named women.
So far, yeah, there are 2.
Wow. And both of their parts have been, have a good quest, my love. That's it.
Well, one's a barmaid.
I don't think the Bechdel test gets passed by Lord of the Rings, sadly, does it?
I mean, does it fail if women never interact?
That's a good point.
I mean, that's the other thing, isn't it? It's like when you realise that Legolas never talks to Frodo.
No.
Yeah, he says, "I'm my bow," and that's it.
Is that all he says?
Yeah, he's just there. He's just a silent bodyguard.
How much do you reckon they had to pay Orlando Bloom to do the one line?
I'm sure they all got millions. Like, he says lines, but just not to Frodo. You predicted shitty accents.
Oh boy, did I get some.
And you predicted that you would see some kind of obstruction that disrupts the journey just before the end of the film, which sets up for the sequel. You'd say that was meta.
I guess Gandalf's death has sent them to somewhere else. That's not where they wanted to go. And then they've ended up splitting up as a result. But no, that's definitely didn't see coming that they'd split up. Like, that's not a thing I thought would have happened.
Yeah, Gandalf's death, inverted commas, sort of like triggers that breakdown of the Fellowship, like you say, and then from there, then they'll just a bit more, short-term goals, apart from Frodo. So,
but Frodo's just having a tantrum, isn't he?
I'll do it myself.
Right, how long are we saying this has been, Amy? What do you reckon? Between Frodo getting the ring and now, how long do you reckon that is?
I think it's officially 17 years.
17. What in the last 17 years is making him think he's capable of doing this on his own?
It's his mother's side of the family going, go do it, adventure, live a life.
Everything he's done has resulted in him getting stabbed or fainting or just falling on things.
He does sound a bit like the guy in the pub that's going, I could do that after a few pints, and then just stumbles off, doesn't it?
What's happened is Frodo's come out of the pub and he's tried to get a taxi, but the taxi said it's 80 quid to get you home because it's 8 miles and it's single track lanes. And he's gone, fuck it, I'll walk then. I know I've not got my shoes on. I know I've not got a coat, but I'll walk.
I've got loads of sausages and bacon, so I'll have you.
Frodo's not got a bag. Sam's his bag carrier. He's got nothing.
He's got the ring. That's enough to carry.
He's got the ring that he uses for literally any problem. Okay, so that covers the predictions pretty well, I guess. I don't think I was far off, but I'm glad it's been able to throw some things at me that I wasn't expecting. Because there is that worry that with such a, I want to say old, but with a film that's been so massive in pop culture that there'd just be no surprises. But no, there were some things that felt refreshing in there, which was nice.
I was going to say, did it open your eyes a little bit to what fantasy films could be? Not just, 90-minute romps with dragons.
It's definitely given me a better appreciation of how deep a world could be, to the extent of having, I think there's 5 different languages I've heard, I'm less interested in things like kingdoms and races and things like that, because like that everything's got that. Everything tries to delve into like location wise, but actually something as deep as like cultures and having different like musical instruments and songs and languages, that's something I'm impressed by, and I really like the idea of. Yeah, I'd like to know more about that. And even myself, towards the end of the film, I was able to recognize by hearing whether it was like Elvish or something else, because it's like, oh, that sounds a bit like Welsh, and I'm joking about it, but like that's quite interesting to me, that you can understand different levels of fantasy based on culture, which is a new one.
Yeah, I think a few things have tried to emulate it, but it is the OG. Like, it was the first to try and do it on this scale and world build this deep.
I think he was the first to make elves look like this and not be tiny little pixie things.
Yeah, and mythology, the little guys that live like underground, aren't they?
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, that's a really good point. I think all my experience of elves probably comes from things that are post Lord of the Rings. So to me, like, an elf is a tall, pretty wood folk.
Before Tolkien, these things, they were defined by like Norse mythology and Saxon mythology. Elves were little pixies underground, and I don't know what goblins and dwarfs looked like before Tolkien, but he sort of defined these archetypes that became what everyone thinks as.
There is like that kind of interesting thing that obviously elves, dwarves, what else have we got? Orcs, goblins. Those are all terms that I hear in other things and are existent in other. Hobbits, I've only ever heard when they relate to Lord of the Rings. Is that something that's like, is that in other mythology, or is that like a copyrighted thing? I don't think I've ever heard of a Hobbit outside Lord of the Rings, but all the other things I have.
This says no, but I don't know where else they'd be.
I think halflings have like come from Hobbit.
Yeah, halflings are in D&D and stuff. I guess he must have got it somewhere, or he just heard it as a funny word at some point and thought, oh, this is cool, I'll use that, because he was that kind of guy.
This one here says he sat down and was grading an essay, got a little board and wrote in the margin, in a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit, which is how the Hobbit book starts.
I don't want to steal your job from you, but I just found that Hobbit derives from Holbalter, which is the Old English word for hole dweller.
They do live in holes, I suppose.
I guess. They're referred to as halflings in this, and D&D has halflings and stuff.
Oh, so halfling and hobbit are the same.
Yeah, Hobbit is the ones that live in that area. I'm sure there's probably other types of halfling in Middle-earth.
There are some that live like above ground in like houses.
I'm sure he mentions at least 4 types at the beginning of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, they talk about how they're from different areas around the Shire, don't they? Because there's like different families and they're all a bit different. Is that right?
So you got the fallow hides are more adventurous. The stores are kind of heavy and like the riverside, and then the Harfoots are kind of the hill dwellers.
So you just pick which type you want from Professor Oak and then just crack on from there.
In the character creator, yeah, it gives you different attributes.
They've even got like different heights and different looks for them, obviously, depending on what type hobbit they are. And that is why Frodo and Bilbo especially are so different, is because they have other hobbit types in their family.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the hole dwellers is referring to like cowardly sort of way of living, and these two are like half something else, so they want to go out and get out the hole.
Yeah. Small, browlet, and beardless, which is a really weird way to describe anyone.
Beardless. Well, so looking ahead to the next films, obviously apart from that I'm probably going to see more action, what kind of spoiler-free thing can you give me to make me want to watch the rest of the trilogy?
I don't think it's too spoilery to say that Frodo and Sam are kind of going to go off and do their thing now. Everyone's kind of split into smaller groups that you'll cut between to see what they're all doing for the rest of the story.
And I definitely have my favourite storylines.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That is encouraging, because I think following one big group of people around, it just isn't going to give you really any depth of what anyone's doing, isn't it? Because you're just trying to like keep an eye on where everyone is at the moment.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the world building, the setup, and the exposition is not over. You still meet new characters, you still learn new lore.
Like one of my favourite characters in the next one.
Ooh, okay.
He does sound very well.
And you come across the worst CGI in the film as well.
Worse than Gollum's eyes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll leave it there then. Obviously, we will come back and talk about the Two Towers at some point. Maybe not next episode, but at some point we will force you to watch more.
Yeah, I'm up for it, I am up for it. We'll get there. I just need... I need at least a little break. We'll do something else, and then I'll get into the frame of mind of Two Towers, and I'll see how much Prime is going to overcharge me for it.
Yeah, I did expect you to hate this, to be honest. I don't know anyone who's watched it and doesn't like it, but I expected you to hate it for some reason.
Just because I'm contrary.
Yeah.
No, I definitely didn't hate it, but I do wish it wasn't 3 hours long.
Shortest of the films.
Could have watched Avengers for that. Just comparing the two to me, it's like I'd take Avengers any day. I feel like more happens if they can make that much happen in 3 hours. Could have happened in Middle Earth, I think. I don't even really know if I'm in Middle Earth or not.
You are. Cool. So we'll come back when you're ready to watch Two Towers, but like you say, we'll find something else to subject on someone else in the meantime.
Perfect.
We'll
Good to hear.
leave it there.
Bye.
See you next time.
Bye.
We've seen some things, but we haven't seen enough. With popcorn dreams and midnight screams, we're chasing scenes through broken beams.